So here are the prop blades that I'm putting together. And they start out as those two pieces of paper. That's an inner piece. You can see they're bent so that you'll cut both things out at once. The white part is the inner part, and then that toothpick's going to be my shaft. So what I started to do was I have decided to take off a little tip, and then I sanded one side flat. So I just took my little sanding block and went back and forth and back and forth. All I'm trying to do is get one of the sides to be flat so that that will be I guess the back side of the propeller blade if I'm lucky, if I did it right. And so you put that in, and now that that's flat on one side, I'm trying to point out that it's flat. I don't know if you can tell, but that's flat. Then I decided to, towards the other side, the rounded part, the convex part, just to sort of get it thinned towards the tip, because I don't want this to show through the paper. You know, it's a shaft that holds the propeller nice and solid, but it would look silly if it looks like there's a real toothpick in there. So I just basically sanded that down a little bit so that it should transition into something relatively smooth, and we'll see how they look. You can see those blades down there are done, and they don't look too horrible. If they look really bad, I'll redo them. But now, what I did here then was take this little piece and figure out where it's going to connect. You can see those dotted lines. It's going to fit in there. And as far as I know, the flat piece is going to be against that. So here I drew a little locating mark so I know where to put it in, how deep to put it in. But both of these pieces of paper, you just fold them together and cut out that angle at the base, and that's going to give you your angle against the spinner. Now take the flat edge here and put a little glue on it, and you know where you're supposed to put the glue because you can see your little mark, and you just slide that in like so, and then I hold this up and I put it in like that, up to the pencil line. And then to get it straight in there, you can't see what I do here because I disappear. But all I did was hold it up against a light source so I can see through it very easily. You'll see me disappear in just a second. There you go. Just to make sure that it's where it's supposed to be and it's all lined up. I'll do that with the other part too. Anyway, so now that's together. Now I put some glue on the other side and put it on just out of the little bottle, and then smear it with my finger to make sort of a thin layer, which actually is really good to do. Just too much is going to make it too wet, and then you're going to have a mess. Once everything dries, it'll be okay, but it'll be a droopy mess if you're not careful. So I go ahead and put this on and kind of squeeze it around the toothpick. By the way, they show just a piece of wire in there that's really thin, and the base is just too skinny. It just looks too flat. That's why I'm doing a toothpick, which is pretty common with a lot of models that I've seen, paper models that I've seen. Now, once that's together, I just go ahead and cut out along the line on either side of the blade. No problems there. And as long as you're careful and you had the glue on there, it should stay together pretty well, which this one does. And I just cut that out carefully and then kind of snip the tip off, make sure that looks right. And there is the inner core, and that's what's going to give a shape to the outside and hopefully make it look a little bit more like a propeller blade, I hope. So next point is to go ahead and put that have the black piece folded over there. And those pieces are going to line up. So the diagonal has to be the same. That diagonal, for instance, there is wrong, so I got to turn it like that. And that way, those are going to line up just perfectly. So I put a little bit of glue on this portion, which represents, I guess, the flat side. Maybe you won't notice much difference when it's all done. It's all said and done. But anyway, I'm trying to follow the directions. Smear it out. And here again, I do the same thing. I put this underneath the black blade and line it up to the edge where it's supposed to be, but then to make it the right angle in there, I hold up to the light, I can see it, and now I got it nice and right in the middle. So basically on that black part, there's a second piece, that piece, inside it. And that's going to give you a little bit of structure, I guess, I hope. Then I glue this part down using the very same technique as before. just smear out the glue, roll it down, and fold it over, and then put it together. So there you go. That piece is going together, and the edge at the hub boss there is supposed to be kind of round. That's the other reason. With a piece of wire, it wasn't round. With a toothpick, it looks rounder. It looked better, I think, when it goes to the edge of the spinners. Anyway, get that together. Make sure it's nice and glued up and relatively straight. And now you cut off the excess paper again. And again, it's not to be perfect. I mean, you want it to follow it as close as you can, but we don't have to worry again about the edges, because the edges are going to be painted. The whole propeller and the spinners are all going to be painted, so that's not going to be an issue. We'll be able to paint everything, and it'll look pretty good when we're done. We're going to sand these a little bit on the edges. So take that piece off. Again, get the tip off here as best I can to make it look kind of round and nice. And, there she blows. There's a basic prop blade. And I'm kind of making sure the base looks round-ish. And it's going to fit into the spinner at some point like that at about a 45-degree angle. Now, what I should do is kind of twist it, because the real propeller blade is helical. And I'm sort of trying to play around with that a little bit. I tend to just bend it, sadly. It's not really too helical. So I have to play with that a little bit more. But we'll see how these look. Hopefully they look good enough. If they look too crummy on the airplane, I'll figure out something else, because the whole airplane's going together nicely and looks pretty. So I don't want to ruin it with funny prop blades. I think these are going to be okay. And then the next thing I'll show you is the making of these little balsa spinners. But these spinners are nice to give me a shot of what I'm going to do next. So hang in there. All right, everybody, so I had a little technical difficulty, so I was unable to show the creation of the little spinners on a balsa, which I should have done. But I took some pictures, so I'm trying to walk you through what I did. First of all, this piece of balsa here, the diameter is from the kit. There's a little circle that goes on the back of the spinners. It's a spinner base plate. So I use that as my diameter. And so I put that on, glue that onto a piece of chunky balsa. And then I cut out the basic depth based on the spinners, because and based on some pictures, these are actually kind of the right depth. They're just the weird wrong shape. So based on some of those things, I was able to make it the correct depth from here to here. And then I cut out with a sort of a hobby jigsaw the circle. And so now I've got this basically column here, this tube of balsa. The center, I put a piece of bamboo and glued it in with super glue. I just shoved it in as straight as I could and made sure it was perpendicular, glued it in with super glue and some zip kicker. And then I trimmed a little bit of this off and put it in so it fit into the chuck of the little Dremel tool or whatever you have available. Then I took this sanding block, and using this green kind of heavy grit stuff, just went ahead and shaped it. And I got really close just by eye what it should look like based on pictures. And then I turned this over and used the finer side and kind of sanded it smooth. So if you look here, there it was basically at the end. After I pulled it off, I just clipped off the base with a pair of clippers, got rid of the bamboo shaft, and then sanded it down so that it's flat. Because there it is in the chucked in the drill, and it went really well. And there's kind of what it looks like as a first approximation on the airplane. So much better than it was. Okay, so here is one of these, and then you can see what I've done. I have located where the prop blades go just by using one of these as a template, and I've actually, you can see where the propeller is supposed to go. I cut these out, these little pieces where the propellers go, and just butted them up against the balsa piece. Let me show you. I can show you a little bit better here. I made these, I have them in the right location, and you can see the hole now. When to locate that hole, I took this little piece right here. Oops, this little piece that's just cut out from the spinner. You can see that I just cannibalized it from there, right there. And all I did then was to hold this up against my line and put it down at the base, right where it's supposed to go. Make sure it's lined up with my line. I did a better job than what I'm showing you here. And then I took a little pointy punch here and just shoved it into that hole, and that located all my holes for my prop blades. And then all I'm going to do now is enlarge these, and then I can put the prop blades in. I kind of started to do that with this one back here. It's not done yet, but you can see I'm starting to get it together. I just got to make these, bigger so that these will fit in nice. And once I've got them fit in pretty well, then I'll go back and make sure they all fit. Then I'm going to go back and basically coat these, sand them smooth, and paint them so they'll be all ready to go. And it doesn't matter that the prop blades aren't beautiful right now, like the edging, because they're gonna be painted, because they're gonna have to be on the spinner, and they're gonna be painted their correct colors. So don't worry about that. Anyway, so sorry I didn't show you some of the actual making of the spinners, but it was very easy, and the little tool, Dremel tool, it makes it like a lathe, went very quickly and had no issues at all, and I thought I would, but it was perfect. And these I just did Mark 1 eyeball based on the pictures I had. Well, now I dropped it on the floor. But I made these to be very close to one another. When they're on the airplane, they'll look fine. No one will know the difference if they're not quite perfect, but they're pretty dang close. And again, much better than what the kit had. So that's awesome.